Hi there everyone, Coach Alexa here. I had a question in recently about how do we find our running mojo and our motivation again. It's a great question, and I think all of us sometimes throughout our running sort of journey will get those little moments where we just don't feel the joy as much, and it's that bit more difficult to get ourselves out the door. So here are some of my tips. There's a lot of dialogue in the fitness industry about how we need to motivate ourselves and power through but actually science shows there's a much easier strategy to that, and that's called creating a habit. So there are some great books out there about habit creation, not just for sport but for everyday life. But if you manage to make something a habit, you don't have to motivate yourself as much, you don't have to push on through, it's just something you do at this time on this certain day of the week. So think about habit creation in terms of a sort of trigger for the behaviour. So that might be creating a habit that on a certain time of day, on certain 2 or 3 days of the week, I go for a run. And to begin with, you don't even have to define how far or what you're doing in that run. I just get out the door, I put my running shoes on and do some running. And after a couple of weeks or so, your body and your brain will just get into the habit with that. So it only takes 2 or 3 weeks of kind of more conscious effort, and then it just becomes the thing that you do. So doing that habit creation and building them one at a time. So one of the reasons why New Year's resolutions often fail is because we try and do loads of different changes all at the same time and try and create loads of new habits all at once. So the big thing for me is change or add in a new habit one at a time. So running 3 times a week at certain slots on particular days for a few weeks. And once that habit is embedded and your body's just used to it and you just go out there and it happens, then maybe start adding in, well, one run might get a little bit longer. Or, maybe we might do some strength training on one of the other days, layer them on one at a time and allow them 2 or 3 weeks to bed in. But if we rely on habit rather than motivation, a lot less energy required and much easier to stick to it. The second big thing to think about is fun. It's so much more difficult to get yourself out and do something if you're not enjoying it. And this fun factor varies massively from person to person. So I'd maybe encourage you to sit down with a notebook and write a list of things that you really enjoy about running and see how you can factor that into your training a little bit more. I know that there are training plans out there and things to follow and things to do, but they're all quite one size fits all. We're not all the same. We enjoy different things. We're motivated by different things. So coming up with an approach that ticks the boxes for you. It might be that you love running on the trails. It might be that you like exploring new routes. It might be that you really like getting your teeth into a speed session because your brain gets to switch off and you're just concentrating on what you're doing. So try and structure a running routine around the aspects of running that you really enjoy. It might be running with other people, all sorts of different things. The community element to the running community is awesome. Accountability can really help. So that is having somebody else kind of support you on that journey and maybe hold you to account a little bit if you have a bit of a wobble. It's also, I think, really useful with family or household members to kind of expectation set a little bit as well. So tell them, on a Sunday night or whenever, I'm going to go out for a run on these 2 or 3 days this week. Not only is it expectation setting so that, it's less likely that there'll be a misunderstanding and the other responsible adult in the household will be out. You've kind of set that expectation that this is when it's going to happen. And also when it doesn't happen, that person's more likely to go, oh, are you heading out for a run this evening? Go on, I'll do this. You head off and do that. It's also great to get, that accountability with friends and family, somebody maybe to check in or message or see how that run went. As a coach, that's a lot of what I do as well, if you ever help and need any kind of professional support with it. The other thing to think about is what I would more term the practicalities. So sometimes we have practical blockers that affect our motivation. So that might be we're going through a really stressful time at work, or we're not sleeping well, or there's lots of family stress going on. And all of these are good reasons to reassess your running routine. I think we do ourselves probably more harm in the longer run by continuing to push through when other stuff's going a bit kind of crazy in life. So picking a sensible plan and a sensible goal and habit to stick to when there's loads of other stuff going on. But also think about the practicalities from the point of view of if you've got injuries or a niggle, or you're returning to run from injury, your body might have just a little bit of nervousness in the background about pushing itself again. So we want to have a nice gentle build that gives us confidence in our body and confidence that we can run. So taking some practical steps to, I guess, kind of take care of any little background concerns or worries that our brain might have about running. So be that, adhering to a rehab protocol you've been given from an injury, doing a bit of strength training to avoid, to help with injury prevention a little bit. So any little background concerns that your brain might have about running that might be kind of subconscious blockers to you getting out there, they're good to identify and think about as well. I hope that's helpful. Let me know how you get on with your running motivation journey.